the one that I chose, let me go look here, is called Letting God Drive. Um, which is, and what was the name of the one that you were looking at, John?
God is doing you. Doing is in quotation marks.
All right, let me go find, and you said that's on page
65. But that's in the
65.
book, not on the Kindle.
Right, but I can look for it because there's an index here. God is doing you. I like that idea. I'm looking, because I like that a lot. So happy New Year, everyone. I hope that everyone is getting prepared for the new year and what we're going to be, how we're going to be seeing things, what we're going to be experiencing. And why am I not finding this poem? Oh, there it is. Got it. Okay.
We
All
could
right.
start with this one and then the other one at the end, the different one at the end, couldn't we? You could do
We
them
could do
both.
both. But
Yeah.
let's see how far we get with this one. God is doing you. So yeah, it's a longer poem, and I'm just fixing the. Oh my goodness, yeah, it's going to be a while. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave it in this large font because maybe take it down a little bit. It's easier for folks to read, I think, when we have it. So, and there's Duff with his blessings. Uh,
We're not seeing it, Lynn. Are you sharing it?
no, I'm not sharing it yet.
Okay.
No, I'm just looking at all you beautiful folks here on the screens. Good morning, everyone.
And by the way, welcome to the new people, and thank you for inviting them, Joni. They're in for a treat.
Absolutely. Thank you, John, for reminding us that, this is I'm just grateful to see that we are moving along. And it looks like I have earmarked this one, so so here we are. God is doing you. All right, and as I said, it's several pages. As you mentioned, it's longer. So we're uh
We just stick with this one then, and you do the other one next week, yeah?
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So yay, good morning, everyone. Um, and if anyone someone would like to volunteer to read the poem,
I will.
thank you, Tony. All right.
Okay, let's take a deep breath in as we get into this present moment where we can enjoy our dear beloved Mandi's words in this power poem. God is doing you, quote unquote. Every little thing you do is by his grace and not by you. But because you move at such a pace, you often miss this perfect grace. Except in nature or in a garden or when birds sings. But what about when you're doing bathroom things? Often the bathroom, you think about what's next instead of chilling in the moment and enjoying the rest. So when resting, notice the light that's even around toilet rolls instead of thinking about your next activities and goals. For instance, just this morning when handling a roll of foil, I marveled at how my fingers made it uncoil. At first, it was unnoticed and taken for granted, but immediately after, I saw the life force implanted and that it is my spiritual I, quote unquote, who is performing the task, which otherwise impossible and pointless to ask. Of my own self, I can do nothing. Christ says and knows, quote, in him I move and have my being and wiggle my toes. Well, maybe I added that last little bit, but you are getting the gist. That spiritual substance is what we consist. To see the love light, you really don't need classes. Simply readjust your eyesight and put on God's glasses. Relax your gaze and admit no interference. Then God, I am, sees beyond the appearance. And then it starts getting really interesting and worthy of all your time invested, because you start losing your shockability and begin to develop spiritual ability. So if someone offends you or, tells you of an illness they feel, you'll know the impossibility of that to be real. You may observe your mind wanting to resist the truth that the person concerned doesn't even exist, that their thoughts and their body is a mind-made facade, which you can and must instantly discard. By discerning through your spiritual eyes that just where, quote, they seem to be, only love resides. Right there, where discord seems to appear, is spirit. God is life right here. And just a word about, quote, feeling offended. The moment you hear it, make sure that it's ended. In that very instant, you can make a choice to take it personally or listen to the voice of ego that blindly leads down paths of self-pity where thoughts can quickly form a resentment committee. So, quote, do you want to be right? Or do you want to be happy? That's the phrase to remember, but just make it snappy. Otherwise, ego will get you. It's all just a test. Do you choose misery or ease and rest? Seeing through, that's all you have to do. Not searching, quote, outside or trying to find, but only by resting beyond the mind. So this is crucially important and something you can't fake. If you can't slow yourself right down, don't say you're a, quote, awake. This is where the, quote, rubber meets the road regarding humility, because you've achieved a nothing if you're lacking this ability to slow down. Absolutely every task, washing, drying, eating, and opening a flask, pulling up your trousers, fastening your shoes, and never, ever rushing anything you do. If you know you haven't been living in this way, and I mean constantly, every second of the day, then you're missing out on life, existing only in time, constantly futurizing. And this is the real crime. You're not as aware as you imagine. It's all still in your head, only something you think you know from wisdom that you've read. That may sound harsh, but it is. It's love's wake-up call to get clear in leading you back to now and nowhere else but here, H-E-R-E. So please don't be saddened by the words you've just heard, because there is no past time that's ever truly occurred. To live the life of wakefulness that I've just described, rely on, quote, capital I, to help with this. It's well beyond the mind. Just relax as I abide in me. Remember just to simply be. And we can start this process now together, me and you, since you and me are one and all. We only live as peace. Countless others will hear love's call and they too will release. All their trying and conspiring and living life by force will yield and give way to grace centered in their source.
Wow, thank you, Joni. That was so beautifully read. So beautifully read. It's like just spirit just held your hand and walked you through this long poem, but no, only long because it's so much of how to be. God is doing you. What a beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Mandy. What a beautiful poem this is. Who would like to share something? Anything that you'd like to share? I'm going to leave the poem up a little bit if you want to go back, but then I'll stop the share so that we can all see each other and have a conversation. So, does anybody have any thoughts about what was just shared? Rafi, please go ahead.
There's no you, there's no me, there's only love. That's it, says it all right there. Wow. Thank you.
Yeah, wow is right. And there's no now. There's no next. No, it's really just being here in the moment. I love this. Joni, please go ahead.
Well, as as you know, a fan girl of Mandi. I'm so grateful to know her. And for me, this is, as one of her other poems, Live in Parallel or Putting on God's Glasses. I feel that stepping back, the course talks about, and letting God drive and me be the co-pilot along for the ride. And 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 what I love is whatever I'm doing in the illusion, I can be past that mask and confusion. Oh, I'm being a poet, didn't know it. Okay.
You are.
I just love it. It's easy to remember these poems. And when I'm doing ordinary things and bathroom things and kitchen things and driving things, these poems come up in my head and I put on a smile and I look in this moment without dread. I'm making all this up. Okay.
Wow. You are a Ryman Simon. I love that.
I love that. I'm so happy, Joni, that you're rhyming because really, the reason that it was given to me in rhyme is so that you can read a poem like this, and you don't have to remember the whole thing, but you can just, because it's in rhyme, you can just pick a couple of lines out for that day or for whatever it is that you need, and you can remember it. And also it is spiritually contagious in that it does kind of make you sort of almost automatically start to rhyme things, as well, which is really good because the rhyme, because it contains a rhythm, it has an energy that really supports the words inside the rhyme. So it's got an extra power because it's encoded in the box that rhymes. This is what people just don't get. They'll do courses with me and they'll still write poems that don't rhyme. That's not what I'm teaching. They need to go to somebody else for that, because to spiritually rhyme has a great deal of power. And so I'm very happy when people, it's not about finding a silly word like the cat sat on the mat just because it rhymes. It's the fact that you'll come up with something, that it pulls from the divinity of your being to find words that match. And it starts to happen automatically when you read this kind of poetry and start writing your own. I mean, the best teaching is when you start to write your own. That really is it. So I'm thrilled that you're doing that.
Yeah. And I love it because it helps to bring in my body, I imagine, the words of my overthinking connecting to my heart. you know,
Definitely.
and when I have that mind body connection or that mind heart connection, it's kind of like, you know, like the night before Christmas poem. You know, it isn't only, it's that the rhythm, it's the rhyming, and it's the feeling that it helps to get me into the present moment. Because when I'm thinking and I'm doing automatically through ego guidance, you know, I don't, I miss the God moments. And if I don't slow down the ego, I may still have to drive the car or to put the dishes in the dishwasher. But when I slow down the ego thought system and, and get to the present and no longer listen, then what relaxing peace has a chance to bubble up.
Yeah.
So thank you.
And you can be of the most help to others when you're in that state of quiet and peace. Are we all right to stop the screen share now, Lynn? Is that
Yeah, I'm going to go
okay?
ahead. I was just thinking the same thing, Mandy.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, because it's like you know, today, and it's the reason that I'm late. Somebody needed a bit of support, bit of help. Somebody that I'm going to do a Zoom with after this, you know, and this is a person that I've known a long time. He's the son of somebody that I know, and he's always been in his mind, but somehow he remembers a time from years, decades ago, when I helped him, and I know I helped him, but I couldn't remember how I helped him, and he's asked for help this time because he's in a bad way. It's all to do with thought and the mind, which is always the way with everybody. Anybody that's in a bad way, there's only one cause. You know, they don't see that they are creating their stuff through thought. But the thing is, that's something that we are all open to listening to because of the experience that we all have here, whether it's Course in Miracles or the spiritual books or everything. When somebody has not any interest whatsoever in that spiritual seeking or searching, and so you know, you can't use words like God or spirit or anything with somebody like that, then what have you got? What you've got is slowing right down, listening to them intently, and just being the peace that they aren't seeing and lacking. So I was really happy that that poem was chosen because there's some points in there that have helped me to remember exactly, you know, how to go forward with this person. And you saying that as well, Joni, because it really is, as I said quite a few weeks ago in a call about a young man, do you remember, that was on a course and was throwing tables around and really angry, and I couldn't help him, and I didn't feel it was my job either to help him or not help him, but all I did was sit on a step with him and not say anything for an hour, and at the end of that his way of being totally changed. But we can all do that. That is not special to me. We all have that same Christ consciousness piece, and we only I'm rambling on a bit, but the point I'm trying to make is that we only know that we are that peace, really, not from the words we read, either the Course in Miracles or any spiritual book. It's only from experiencing that peace by slowing right down and being the peace that we seek. So when we're trying to help another person, we're not going to do it by words and solutions and trying to get them to think the way we think, but just having the bravery, really, to sometimes just not talk, to actually let there be a silence, because then they can feel that silence. And even if initially they think it's awkward because they're not used to it, it will calm them down. So, you know, that's a really important thing. And if we don't have that inner peace, we can't give it away to somebody else.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Mandy. Go ahead, Joni.
Well, she already said what I was going to just say. The last line, you just said it. it's a reminder for me that I have to be that first. I can't extend God's peace unless I believe in who I am, which is-ness is my only business. And then as I take a step back and let God lead, whether it's to sit on a step in silence or to do whatever, I will be guided, because our last lesson just talks about be you in charge. I will step back and let dear divine show me the way. But I can't do that unless I'm willing to be that isness of peace first. So you already said them. But, okay, here you go.
No, there's no somebody's already said it. The way you say it is the only thing that matters, because you're hearing it for you, and then you are sharing it. So it doesn't matter how many times and how many ways, we are all basically saying the same thing. It's equally valid, isn't it? Yeah.
That's so interesting and so perfect, because yes, that is. There are lots of times that, people have said to me, oh, when you said this, it made me open up this. And, I cannot for the life of me ever remember having said that. What it is that they heard. They heard what they heard, but that was not what I said. But it was perfect for them at the time, because that's all we're here. We're just a conduit for love. That's all I'm here for, is just to be a conduit for love. So whatever comes out of me and whatever you receive, it's just love. And that's all that it can be. So I love all of this. Thank you guys so much. Rafi, please go ahead. And then John after.
Feel like what I'm saying is redundant because everybody said everything so eloquently. But I often, when I get in a situation where somebody is going on, say to myself, okay, how can I serve? And I can serve just by being, just be there and let them do what they do. And eventually, what happens is the conversation evolves to a point where they start asking me about stuff. And then I just open my mouth, and whatever comes out the right way. I don't plan to say I'm going to do this, or I'm going to say this, or I'm going to say that. I got a call yesterday from a young lady who I've known for, I don't know, 40 years, 30 years, 40 years. And she lives in Hawaii. She was all confused about grief over a woman that everybody loves, who just passed out of her body. And I just listened, and then listened and listened, and then she just started asking me what to do about it. And I told her how to get in touch with don't push the grief away, don't disapprove of it, just love it, welcome it, welcome it, welcome it. And the right things came out, and eventually I led her through without trying, led her through a short system on how to get in touch with the grief, love the grief, and let it go, and explain to her that the grief was just an indication of how much love there was. If you're grieving, it's because there's a great deal of love. So once you got rid of the grief feeling, then get in touch with the love that's always there. And the stuff, it just evolved. I had never any idea that I was going to say any of that. Just be. And it's not me, but the Father that worked through me. That's what happened. The right things were said, and in a few minutes, had completely got 180 degrees, and I didn't do anything.
That is so beautiful. Rafi, you just did that for me. Just saying that just did that for me. So even telling the story of how that happened is enough. It's that Holy Communion that we share. Wow, thank you, Rafi. And yeah, John, please go ahead.
Thanks, Rafi, because that kind of speaks to what I was thinking about exactly. Because that lady's asking you, what should she do about this? And that kind of speaks directly to the poem because it speaks about God doing me, like God is doing the project, and just to be getting wakeful to that. And then as Mandi was saying, and getting in the rhythm, and for me, it's like it being in the flow of stuff. And you know, Joni, you read that so beautifully. You never read it before, but it just flowed out of you with a rhythmic grace that it was written with. It's almost like a cosmic experience, and I kind of think it speaks to what in the Course of Miracles they have Shakespeare iambic pentameter or whatever. There's a flow and a universal flow to communications, even in music or words or whatever it is. But it's just like getting in the flow and just knowing what you know that. Hey, it's not my fingers around this toilet roll. These are God's fingers around that toilet roll, and God's doing me. Oh my goodness, what a concept! But the thing it gets forgotten and pretty soon. And even in this poem where it says, "So please don't be saddened by the words you've just heard, because there's no past time that's ever truly occurred." And it's just a reminder, you know, of all the stories that you know that pop up, you know, but they're just all made up. It's so great to be here, and you know, with a joyful crowd of people who appreciate being in the now and noticing that's God doing me in my life. And it's Monday, and God's doing me for the rest of this week if I believe in time. But but so over to you, Joe. Over to you, Jody.
Thank you, John. And you know, I to confess, I listen to Mandi every day. So, but it also I'm seeing a weaving between the poems. You know, the parallel. Don't get caught in thought linking. You know, when I'm not saddened because I know that the presence is where I'm only going to have the peace. It isn't going to come in if I hang on to the judgments of a harsh word or something not going my way. So thank you. It is fun. I don't often say it out loud. I listen to it a lot, but I don't often say it out loud. I say it in my head. But I think you're right. There's something, it's like singing versus humming in my head. You know, I'm gonna start speaking it to the dog.
I love that, Joni. Thank you. I love it. Mary, please go ahead, my friend.
Thank you. I love this too, a chance to be together with like-minded people. I too, I start work at 6 o'clock in the morning, and while I'm getting ready, you know, it's dark outside, and I listen to Mandi on my Audible. And one of the things I've wanted to do is get a hold of the PDF so that I can read them in my words, as you've suggested, Mandi. But I love listening to your voice, and I don't even, I mean, I've been listening to them so much since September. I just let it come into me naturally. I'm not trying to get anything or be anything. And it's just been really, well, I mean, I guess my goal is to just be with these words and with these ideas. And then I get to work, and it's kind of like work, like, and I just I get just to live it, just to be it. Really, it's been really awesome. So I do want to get a hold of the PDF so that I can put them into my words as you suggested, read them for myself. And I was trying to get my friends together so that we can go in the ocean, because there's really big waves right now. So I missed some of what you were saying, but I caught just the tail end. It sounded like you were speaking, Mandi, about how we talk about this stuff with our friends who are not in a dual mindset, in a non-dual mindset, and not into God the way we are. And I just recently went to Chicago to visit a surrogate mother who's 91 years old. Now she's bedridden. And I just wanted to, I grew up with her since I was 4. And really, I mean, a spiritual woman, great spiritual woman. She wanted to be a nun, but her father wouldn't let her be one. So she went off and had 10 kids. And when my mom went back to work when I was 8, she said, just bring your kids over here. They can stay over here. What, I have 10. What's 3 more? And so she was just a really, just a really strong spiritual woman in the Catholic tradition. And she's in excruciating pain. Anal fissure, hemorrhoids, and spasms. And I went there to be with her. She has a one-on-one caregiver, and she's just crying out in pain. And there's a part of me, I love how you said that, Rafi, how you just said, let me be of service. So I've been asking that, and anyway, I don't really need advice. I just need to speak out loud that when I see somebody in pain, in excruciating pain, and my sister is going through this too, that to just be the peace, to just to just see them as whole, and to ask Holy Spirit to work through me, so that I'm not running around with my ego in a codependent way, like, I'm going to fix this, I'm going to be the hero. But these words and reading and listening to the Audible book from you, Mandi, has really helped me to get back into my present self and remember that all is well. And I can do this now for myself because I've been studying the course for 10 years. But it just, it's hard to try to teach, or to try to be there for my spiritual teacher, which I have been doing to my 12-step sponsor, actually. And she's now like, I want to get a hold of that book, the Course of Miracles. What I'm saying is that I'm just, I'm in peace, but I'm watching someone else who's not in peace. And
So Mary, so so thank you first of all for absolutely everything that you've said there. You know, when we see somebody apparently suffering, and I say apparently because it's all apparently and it's still all thought, and the reason that the peace is so important is that otherwise we fall into this mistake of thinking that we're asking God to do something. We've learned through the Course in Miracles, we're not asking God to do something. God can't do anything to something that's not even been created by God. So the reason that the peace is so powerful is that when you, for instance, if I'm going to do a healing for somebody, I might do a power poem, and I'm realizing that I'm sort of putting them out there I'm still doing that really, but I'm changing my thought. That's what I'm doing. I'm changing my thought about it, so that I'm not seeing the picture that's being portrayed. I'm not believing in it. And it just, if I write a little poem, even something of 4 lines that rhymes for me, just for me to get out of that mindset of efforting and having to do something. So I see their perfect self in the little rhyme and then I drop it. And then I just sit in the peace, just in the peace of quiet, knowing of my own self, I can do nothing. It's an illusion. Sometimes I'm up to seeing through the illusion. Sometimes, truthfully, I'm not up to seeing through the illusion, but it's fine because I don't have to be the one to see through the illusion. All I have to do is shut up. All I have to do is shut up in my mind and just be there, and be the peace. If somebody is in a lot of pain and they are up for listening and able to grasp this, then I do as exactly as Rafi would say, I do what I do with myself. So I would share that. So if I'm in that pain, yeah, I was in that, right. So I fell down some steps the other day, Christmas Day. Fell all the way down some steps, and sheer agony mainly in my ankle, which came up swollen and sprained. So I immediately wrote a little power poem to clear that. And then I just allow myself to feel the rush and the waves of the pain, not putting any words to it, just allowing it, welcome it completely, you know. And then just kind of allowed it to take me over completely, the whole, as though it was a bright red going to a dark purple color, and it just took me over completely. And in other words, I went with the flow of the pain, not trying to tighten up against it, but welcoming it in completely, which is another way of being completely at peace, because once again, when I'm welcoming something which is the way it is, I'm not pushing against it, I'm not using any effort, and I've got no thoughts going on. I'm just allowing it, welcoming it. And for a start off, that, that stopped the pain. The next day, the power poem, I'd got it spot on. I'd nailed it for myself. And this has never happened to me before so incredibly. It did seem like a miracle because it was a big lump and it had been so painful. It was completely gone the next day. There was absolutely nothing left of it, nothing. And the day before, I could hardly even walk with a stick, you know. So when you're watching someone else, as I say, or if you know you're going to meet somebody else who you're going to see that's in pain, um, it's a good idea to write a little 4-line power poem. Any words that you can think of where you're seeing that just the perfection of that person, and even a couple of sentences, and then just be at peace and just allow. I mean, when you're in that peace, that's where the sense of connection is. That's where you're healing, because that person that you are perceiving them not at peace. It's still all your thought, really. But the easiest way to deal with it is to just drop the thought or any feeling that you have to comfort or do anything, because it's a tremendous comfort being there. I've got somebody who I know who is apparently in a lot of pain at the moment. And she says that the hardest people to be around are the ones that are trying to help her, talking. They keep talking or trying to share experiences or trying to make things better. We talk to each other because she knows that for each other we can do the just be at peace thing. And that's where she gets the help, just being at peace, you see. So otherwise, if you're keeping these ideas of the pictures that they're putting forward, you're doubling up those pictures and making them bigger. So the two things are the being at peace and the allowing, welcoming, and then letting go, which brings you to the same point of not, so it's those two things together. If that's any help. I can only say that's how I'd go about it.
All right. I appreciate that, Mandi. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you, Mary. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Wow. And thank you both. First, Mary, for your wonderful love of your friend, your surrogate mother. My heart goes out to her as well. And Mandi, for all the things that you just said. It's so funny to me. Sandy fell down the stairs last night, and she thinks she hurt her toe. Somehow it's all swollen because it went under her while she was falling. So and of course she's banged up from falling down the stairs as well. So when you said you had a power poem, I was like, oh, please tell me that poem.
I'll send it to you. Yeah.
Send it to me. So she's getting ready. I think she's going to go to the emergency room this morning, and because she's supposed to work tonight, and so she cannot. She's a nurse at the hospital, and she cannot walk around the hospital with her toe feeling the way it is now. So how funny.
Send it right away. As soon as we've finished, I will.
Thank you, sweetheart. Well, you're gonna call your other friend as soon as we finish as well. So
No, I've got half an hour before I call him,
okay,
so don't.
very good. Thank you. Rafi, please go ahead. And then John.
One of the things that works always is not looking at the person as a person. The person that I'm looking at is an image, a projected thought image. And so instead of seeing them as a person, see them as the divine light of love that they really are. That this divine infinite presence that is the only reality. And as soon as I see the divine light in them, the divine love in them, there is no, they are sick, I am well. They are this, I am this. There's none of that. All of that disappears. And then there's only the oneness of being, of that divine infinite being. And it's, I like to say the word remarkable, but it's remarkable how effective that is when we're not relating image to image, but infinite oneness, that being, that divine spirit. I'm having trouble finding the words to put it together because it's an experiential thing. It isn't a verbal thing. It isn't an intellectual thing, but it happens all the time. And I often do it with myself. If there's anything in my body that's going on, I immediately thank it for showing me that there's something that I need to let go of. And then it goes. And then I deal with whatever the mind thing, the ego mind thing is, and let that go, welcome that and let that go. And if I do it with me, I do it with them, because there is no me and there is no them. There is only that one divine spirit. And seeing them as the truth makes whatever's going on with them shift to a point where it no longer is an issue. And I'm running out of words. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Rafi. It's hard to hear you run out of words. Unusual. But perfect. John, please go ahead.
I'll be brief as I can, but it's really like we were all talking about rhymes and rhythms. And behind that is a theme. And that's, I think, what I'm hearing here. The theme, and keeping in touch with the theme. And the theme is the story. And that's really what I want to address right now, because I just wanted to share it just as a story, because there's a moral attached to it. And that's, that's really what we're talking all, is just reminding us about the story. And there's a simple story here, and I wanted to share it with Mandi, because it's on every one of her poems, she's got a little blackbird. And I heard a story about a blackbird, and I thought that's what I wanted to share. And basically, it was the story. Maybe you heard it before, I don't know, but it was flying home one day, going across the fields, and it was an old bird, but it was just realizing it left it too late. It was getting dark, and it needed to rest. It landed in the snow for a rest, just to kind of get some energy back. But it was too late, and it started to freeze, and it tried to take off again, it couldn't. And so it really, the poor blackbird was ready to give up the ghost, and he's saying his last prayers, and he's really praying to God for a miracle to happen, the God that he believed in anyway. And all of a sudden, he notices he's just enveloped in a warm feeling of just a glow, and there's a fragrance, and he's just feeling getting his life back. And he's so happy, he's starting to wiggle around, and he's flutter his wings, and he's just ready to take off. And he says, "No, I got to do my gratitude thing here." So what he does, he starts singing the most beautiful hymn of praise to the Creator that he ever had sung along in his whole life. And you know what happened? Well, there was a little cat, just like Lisa's got a black cat, walking down the road, and he heard that song. And you know what cats do to birds? Well, that's what happened to the blackbird. It disappeared down the cat's throat. So basically, the moral of the story is, number one, the first one is never give up hope, because you never know what's going to happen to you. But the second thing is that the beautiful thing about that warm feeling I forgot to mention was a cow had walked by and had defecated on it. And that's what brought it back to life. So the second thing is that, if anybody shits on you, it's not necessarily your enemy, because they brought him back to life. And the third moral of the story is, for goodness sake, there's times to keep your mouth shut. We gotta know when to shut our mouth. And so now it's my time to shut my mouth. I told you my theme.
I'll never look at those blackbirds the same again.
That's
Thank you,
hilarious,
John.
John. Oh my gosh. Carrie, my dear, please. I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Thank you, Lynn. What I really liked about the poem is just a reminder again that we're really being lived. And anything we say or do or act doesn't initiate with us. Because it's so easy to get caught up in that. And like, for example, to look at a decision that you made in the past and thinking, oh my God, I didn't really think this through. I regret this so much. Now I've got to live with the consequences, and you're focusing on the past and the future. So it takes the heaviness and the seriousness out of life when you are reminded again that you're being lived. And this really applies to little things too, like maybe you greeted someone and you're like, oh God, I should have sounded a little more friendlier. And this, just a tiny little thing like that, your mind can be going and put you in a bad mood for quite a while. But again, just a reminder again that we're being lived, and you don't have to take your thoughts so seriously. You don't have to take them seriously at all. So I appreciated that reminder that we do not initiate things, we are being lived through. And it's very comforting.
Wow.
Oh, that
Thank
was
you for
great.
that. Go ahead, Mandy.
No, I was just going to say that that's absolutely great, because that's the purpose of that whole thing, that, to remind us that the whole thing is a dream, because we are being lived through, It's funny how we take it so seriously, because that one line in the Bible where it says, in him I move and have my being. What else do you need to know? In him I move and have my being. That's one of the lines in that poem, I think, that I'm going to send to you, because I just, when you really, really consider that, it really is just complete illusion, and exactly what Rafi said so clearly and so brilliantly, which I just took ages to try and say, but for Mary, which is that if you see the divine light and only see the light, knowing that it's complete illusion what you're looking at. It must be illusion, because God didn't create that. Good didn't create that picture. And yeah, I found the same thing, which is, I suppose, what I meant when I was saying sitting in the silence with somebody. I'm sitting in the light of what's really true, of there, and in that there's no separation, because there's nothing else that you're thinking of. You're not thinking of a person over there that's either suffering or not suffering. There is only the light, and that really does have a profound effect. But Rafi, you did say it much better, much more clearly, much more succinctly, as you always do. I'm so grateful for you, Rafi. Honestly, I am. I love the way that you put things. So thank you for what you said. But yeah, so yeah, Carrie, I'm just agreeing with you. That's exactly the point of that we aren't doing any of it. And then sometimes just notice, when you're brushing your teeth's a good one, because you can't see what's going on really. And just as many times a day as you can, to know that you aren't doing these things, you are being done. Of course, you're just being done. None of it's you, none of it's your responsibility. It's great. We can just relax.
Wow, yeah. And what's so beautiful about all this, thank you so much, Carrie, for what you brought up as well. Because I had completely forgotten. I was thinking this originally, that if you study A Course in Miracles, you might get the idea that that having, doing things in this world or having things in this world is part of an attack on God or trying to run away from God. But really, God is doing this through us. There is no doubt in my mind when, God is in everything I see, everything I think, everything I hear. God is here um, and using me to be a conduit of His love. So, if I could just see myself in that light in everything that I do, no matter what it is, and believe me, I have had many what I call revelatory moments while on the toilet. There, it's someplace I spent a lot of my life because I have all these intestinal things that they seem to want to work or work better than most, I guess, but it doesn't really matter. Where you don't normally think that you're going to be experiencing revelation in the shower, driving down the road, uh, watching a commercial on television, it's in everything. So, that's the whole thing. You know, we should be enjoying it as God would enjoy it, loving it as God would love it, and having fun with it, as God is having fun with us, with our lives, with what we are. We're not here to suffer. We're here to be enjoyed, to be in love, and so that's the joy, that's the beauty of it all. Letting God, lead the way because He knows where everything is. I can quit fumbling around. God knows where everything is and what everything is for. I don't. So, um, anyway, that's all I have to say. John, please go ahead.
I thank you very much for that, Lynn. I just want to add one little piece because it came to my mind when you talk about suffering, but also what Mary was talking about, and what's been the kind of the theme here was healing and seeing people in pain and suffering, like and then making judgments about it. I heard one, if we look at a drunk in the gutter, lying there, and just or the person in pain, with all those hemorrhoids in constant pain, who knows? This might be their last journey, the last step on their journey for illumination, that they have to go through this. This could be the most celebratory experience of their lifetime. And we're there to support them in going through their thing, as opposed to somebody who's just picked up the Course in Miracles, is just starting their, they got a whole lifetime ahead of them, or going to seminary or whatever. It's a different story. So the person in pain or suffering, this has been a last experience before their total unfoldment into the light. Could be the most wonderful thing for them, And we got our stories about, oh my God, this, that, and the next thing. But meanwhile, it may not be true at all. We just made it all up anyway. So thanks so much, and thanks so much everybody for being here.
Thank you, John.
Adding to my experience.
I just want to add something to that. I love that, John, and I've definitely thought of that. I just didn't want to become the preacher to this woman. But Byron Katie says, if this were the only way to God, would you take it?
Yes. Exactly. And thank you, thank you, thank you. And yeah, when I look at someone who's suffering and I suffer, who's really suffering? I make it up, my story myself. I tell myself this is what I think is happening. And it's not true, none of it. So thank you all. Thank you, Mandi, for being here with us today. Thank you, everyone. I'm just so grateful for Joni inviting folks and people coming in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And please come in, anytime. If you want, I can send you the schedule for all the different programs that we do here, and you might enjoy that as well. So
and excuse me, Lynn, you're going to eventually put the live YouTube link in your schedule, because this is recorded on YouTube for our reminder and to play again. So do you want them to put their emails in the chat? Lynn, or do you want to put it in the chat yours so they can get on the list? What would you like?
Sure. Yeah, because I don't want to put people on the list that don't want to be on there. So if you're not on my email, it's MLYN811@yahoo.com.
Right. And
Make sure that's correct.
you just sent a beautiful schedule. I just am encouraging you to add the YouTube link.
I thought about it afterwards, Joni, and I thought, should I send out another email?
No, you don't have to do that. I just want you to do it because I'm always struggling to find it, but I now know where it is. So maybe I could put it in the chat for everybody because Mandy's got her own, Lynn has made a playlist. So you can listen to all the lessons that are there, along with so many other wonderful things that are on that. It's ACIM Gather, but you can't look it up there.
Oh, well, I'm
And
sorry.
don't
for
forget
that.
to everybody to have a happy new year. Next time we
Yes.
see you, it'll be in the new year. So we can
Yeah.
do all these things
Yeah.
in the new year as well.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, I love you guys so much. Thank you all for being here with us, and see you all later.
Thank you. I love
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Love you
Beautiful
too,
time.
honey.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in. I love it.
I'll be back.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good.
I love it. Thank you, Lisa.
Actually, a lot of other people said they were going to come, but they couldn't today. So I think we're going to double our connection here.
Wow,
So.
that would be lovely. All right, very good. Love you guys. Talk to you all
And
later.